For as long as I choose to do this, I'm going to be playing Lode Runner games. There's around 24 different Lode Runner games out there, and that's not even including the many ports of the original game. In fact, this is the 4th time I've played a Lode Runner game over the course of documenting system libraries, and it's not even the last time I'm going to do it on the PC Engine. Lode Runner was one of the early giant hits for computer games. Doug Smith originally developed the game for the Apple II computer platform, and it got ported everywhere. The Famicom version was the first third-party game on the platform and wound up selling more than 1 million copies. And that might be why Lode Runner had a cultural hook in Japan that resulted in a lot of new Lode Runner games being developed there. Lode Runner Ushina Wareta Meikyuu is kind of a strange entry. It is mostly a port of the original game. But roughly every 5 stages, pack-in video mixed in a bonus level. A new stage created for this version, they usually relied on some kind of trick or gimmick. Basically, instead of the sprawling maze of platforms that characterized most Lode Runner stages, it was a smaller, more focused puzzle to be solved. This version of Lode Runner has 84 stages before you see the end appear, and then after that text it goes on to stage 112. I'd say that about 70 of the stages were taken from the 150 included in the original computer game release of Lode Runner, and the rest were created by the developer, who might be pack-in video themselves, but it's always a little bit iffy with these things. So what we have here is a game that's about 2/3 a port of the original game, 1/3 original content, and almost all of that original content placed at the end. Or after the end, to be really precise in this case. The concept of Lode Runner is that on every stage, you need to collect all of the gold bars. Oh, no, they're nuggets in this one. Well, gold nuggets. The levels consist of a bunch of brick platforms linked by ladders and ropes that you can go hand over hand across. And getting in your way are robots, or whatever the graphics set for that stage is. Your character has one tool at their disposal to help, a mining beam that will dig out a square to the left or right of them. Button 1 digs to your right, button 2 digs to your left. These holes have some strange properties, because you can fall straight through them, and if there's nothing below, then you just keep going. Robots, on the other hand, fall into them and become trapped. The holes will eventually fill back in, and if something is trapped inside it, then it gets crushed. Usefully, you can walk on robots' heads, which means if they're trapped in a hole, then you run right on top of them. There's a quirk to picking up the gold nuggets. Obviously, you can collect them by running straight through them, and you can get them by dropping through them, but if there's one that's over a hole, then you can't collect it from the side. You'll fall before you pick up the nugget. So in those cases, you have to drop on the gold nugget from above. As the game progresses, a lot of puzzles are going to involve figuring out how to open a path to drop onto a nugget and then escape again. The robots can pick up the gold nuggets as well, and they drop them if they ever fall from anything, whether that's falling into a hole or jumping off a platform. Another key aspect of the later stages is figuring out how to manipulate the robot movement. You might need to use them as bridges, or trap them in out-of-the-way places, or just divert them so that a path opens up. If you manage to collect all the gold nuggets, then some additional ladders appear, and if you can reach the top of the stage, then you advance on to the next one. You start the game with 5 lives, and you earn an extra life every time you complete a stage. Not that the lives system really matters, since nobody's going to sit there for 4 hours and play through every stage consecutively. You get a password at every stage so that you can continue from that point. As is traditional with Lode Runner games, there's a level editor. This editor requires that you start from an existing stage, but then you can edit it to be whatever you like. Button 1 places that object, button 2 rotates through what you can put in a spot. Levels can only be saved to the Tendo Koei 2 memory bank, so if you don't have that hardware peripheral, then you can't share your levels with friends. I actually found it kind of hard to find any opinions on this specific version of Lode Runner. Lode Runner in general is popular in Japan. or at least popular enough to be remembered. It's just, this version seems to get buried. There's a pretty decent chance that this video is the most popular video online about the game, and when my video is likely the most popular one, it's a pretty bad sign. The ultimate question here is whether or not Lode Runner Ushina Wareta Meikyuu is a good version of Lode Runner. And yeah, it works perfectly fine. I don't care for the new bonus stages. I think hitting players who are still learning the game with gimmick levels based on advanced techniques is not a great approach. But I have absolutely no complaints about how this version looks, plays, or feels. Of course, that might be why it's so overshadowed. Lode Runner Ushina Wareta Meikyuu also doesn't add anything. A lot of the Lode Runner games that came out in the 90s expanded the concept, bringing in new features and ways to play, and this is still the same game from 1982. If you only had a PC engine, and you wanted to play Lode Runner, then this is a perfectly good way to do it. But if you had any other options, then you probably already had played Lode Runner, or at least enjoyed one of the computer versions with all of the levels. Lode Runner is a good game. If you haven't played it, absolutely play it. And the PC Engine version is a fine way to do that.